Reince Priebus and Michael Steele, they don't get along so well.
No, not so much.
All right, let's go to the videotape.
The National Party is too big for its own britches right now. It's centered the universe around itself out of D.C. When I was chairman, we put the emphasis and the interest back in the state parties. You have 50 individual state parties that reflect a cross-section of this country. So you can't do a one-size-fits-all. You have to do a 50-state strategy. So I was laughing at some of these numbnuts after the election talking about, oh, well, we need to do a 50-state strategy. Dude, where were you for 2009 and 2010? That's exactly what we did.
So he's being highly critical of Reince Priebus in that clip, and one thing that he had a problem with is that Reince Priebus wanted to set aside some money, I believe $10 million, to reach out to minorities, because he's realizing, hey, we got our asses kicked during the last election and we need to reach out to minorities, and for some reason Michael Steele tends to have an issue with that.
Well, Michael Steele is, he's actually making a good point, because he talks about how you can't, on the one hand, reach out to minorities and pretend you like them, and with the other hand, try to pass these ridiculously racist voter ID registration laws, right? Voter ID laws, and because those voter ID laws are clearly aimed at limiting the voting rights of certain ethnic Americans, so or old people, young people, whatever, people who are likely to vote Democratic. So on that front, Michael Steele is making a good point, and Reince Priebus took over Michael Steele's job, so there's some animosity, some rivalry there, and Michael Steele thinks Reince is just out of touch and can't connect with Americans.
Yeah, but Reince believes out of touch.
They are both out of touch, and Reince believes that Michael Steele was a clown who wasted all their money and their checks were bouncing and all of that.
Yeah,
so
and he was.
Well, yeah, but he did. You have to give him some credit, because there was that big surge in the Republican Party in Congress. They had even more seats than ever in the House in 2010, and that was during Michael Steele's tenure. I think with the Republican Party autopsy that they put out this week, the idea that the conclusion that they've drawn from this is that they have to be better at their messaging, at their marketing, that somehow throwing $10 million to reach out to minority communities is going to make the difference. When people see, Americans are a really well-connected bunch when it comes to seeing all of these laws that came out across all of the different states that had Republican legislatures, like you said, with the photo ID restriction laws and, essentially all of the laws that wanted to make it harder for people to vote. Folks are catching on to that. And the idea that you can just go into a minority community and say, well, I know we bash you guys on this and that and the other thing, but now we're going to change our marketing and throw some money at you, and that's going to make the difference. You're going to actually understand and say that now I want to vote Republican.
Right.
Yeah, it really underscores how out of touch they are, because they really think that would work.
That it's marketing, not messaging.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely is marketing, not messaging. And the thing is, I feel like the Republican Party is very slowly realizing that their right-wing extremism, their disdain for minorities is not a winning platform. They need to change things. So in one sense, even though the way Reince Priebus wants to carry that out is stupid, I think it's a good thing that they're starting to get a little smarter about what the reality is and how their ideology is not a winning ideology.
There's definitely a civil war within the party.
Yes.
There's a portion that wants to reach out to minorities and make inroads, and they realize, look, the demographics are way against us. But there's the other side, and they just think, you know what, our problem is that we were not strong enough. We weren't conservative enough. We were too conciliatory. I don't know how they can think that, but they think that. And they think that the key is to go to their conservative roots and to convince Americans that they have the winning ideas.
Well,
it's crazy.
I know.
It's crazy.
Reince Priebus came out and he was, in the autopsy, his press conference. Which, why would you want to have a press conference with the kinds of information that was coming out in that report? Why you'd want to be on camera talking about, well, they think we're the party of the rich. We got to stop doing that. It's like, well, you guys are. Yeah. What do you want to do? How do you expect people, unless you're going to actually change your policies, people are going to see you for what you are?
So Michael Steele was talking to the press about Reince Priebus after that video, so it actually continued.
There's still a lot of things that the party does not want to expose itself to. The words are nice.
Like what?
Well, the fact that you're really going to, how does Reince Priebus reconcile his approach and his agreement with voter registration policies that many in the black community view as anti-black, racist, whatever the term happens to be? You've got to reconcile how people feel about your policies, not just the fact that you're going to show up. You can show up anytime. It's what you say and what you do when you get there that matters most to people.
So I think that clip actually makes him look pretty good. Again, he's like expanding on a pretty reasonable argument. But later on, he was asked, whether or not he would win in like a physical fight with Reince Priebus, and which is first of all, as someone who is a public figure and someone who is an adult, it's a good idea to not answer that question. Just be like, it's funny, and move on. But no, he answered that question. He's like, I would clean his clock. No, that's inappropriate. You're a freaking adult. You don't say things like that.
Yeah, the whole thing was hilarious because the question was, who would win in a steel cage match? And he's like, yeah, I would win. I'd clean his clock. It would just take one shot to the head.
Oh, he's really mad.
Wow. That's crazy. You can't say stuff like that.
Well,
really?
But that's the quality of the question that was asked of him. It wasn't, okay, well, what policies are should you Republican Party change? How should they perhaps talk to people about how different they should be presenting their actual policies? Maybe they shouldn't support the rich and the tax cuts for the rich. But no, that's what they asked.
No, but you know what? I honestly don't have a problem with that question because I think it perfectly reveals how juvenile he is. If someone had asked me that question, if someone said like, what do you think about that Desi? Well, what if you guys got into a fight? I wouldn't be like, you know what? I think I would beat Desi's ass. Like, no, you don't say stuff like that.
Question ever.
It's a dumb question, but at least it gave you some insight into how childish and how immature he is.
Yes. Maybe it's a man-woman thing because if someone asked me, could you beat up, I don't know, Lee Doran? I would say yeah.
But Lee Doran isn't in your party. He's not on your camp. Okay. So if someone asked you, like, look, you and Cenk get into disagreements fairly often.
Okay.
So if someone asked you,
he would beat me up. He would win.